Okay.
Good afternoon, all. I'd like to call to order the April meeting for the Cohoes IDA. Ed, if you would take attendance, please.
Mr. Dion.
Here.
Ms. Darlow.
Here.
Mr. Pascal. Absent. Dudwire. Present. Mr. Moore.
Here.
Mr. DeChiro.
He's absent.
Absent. Mr. Paradise.
Here. With a quorum being present, we'll move to the first item, which is the approval of the minutes of the March meeting.
Everyone should have a copy of the minutes in front of them. I did email them to the mayor and council for their review, but
Any changes?
Nope.
Then with that, I'll call for a motion for approval. Thank you. We'll give that to Jeff. We'll hold down another.
Laura. Motion, Jeff second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So when it's Jeff or Ree, when you spell that.
Excuse me, Ray, you want it?
I don't miss that.
Our next item is for the people who have been on the board for a bit, an oldie but a goodie. The Brookfield pilot has come back onto the table. So I noticed this a week ago maybe, that the common council was moving to pass a resolution asking us to move forward with our resolution. Pete and I did come down to the meeting, just more so because we were just a little taken back that nobody had really reached out, and boom, here we are, let's go again. The city, because of the stability that it would give to the tax base to the city, is why they are encouraging that we move forward with it. Your opinion regarding the school board would be very important, but I don't believe there's any pushback from the school board for us moving forward on this. In the past, for the new members, we've had many meetings over this, and the feeling has always been we're not thrilled about it. We wish we could put up a fight or do something, but we also understand that some things you just kind of plug your nose do and move forward, and it's the best for the city. And we are here to assist the city leaders, and this is where they're deeming it is the way to go. So Pete has done a little additional research on this, and along with that, I'd also like to publicly thank Pete for all the hard work, especially last month that he couldn't be here, regarding all the reporting. It was a strenuous time for Pete. Hopefully we have gotten things to a point where it'll be much easier and we won't go through that again. But I did want to acknowledge that and thank you for all your efforts.
Nice work, buddy.
And along with that, Pete has done his own research regarding this matter, so he's going to brief us a little bit. And I think all we're really looking for is a feeling where the board is. And if we are okay moving forward with that, then I have already reached out to Chris Candidate, Joe Scott's replacement over at Hopkins Ross, and informed them that this is back on the table. I think they're basically ready to go. The paperwork has pretty much been done. It's a 20-year pilot. The tax break is in the first 10 years, where they will stay at the rate that they are. I don't know where they are now.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
So they're at the
with an
20-year.
escalator.
And then after 10 years, there's a 1% escalator that the IDA did has to be put in. It's not a great deal, but again,
There's really no decision.
probably not. Well, there is. We are our own standing board. and we can
Tonight,
do
there's
what we
no,
want, but-
there's no decision. This is a discussion. This is just,
Okay.
Correct. We're just trying to get a feel before we
this
start
is,
all the.
I guess, feeding you the data.
Is this a bad precedent to start if we're going to do this for Brookfield? I mean,
Ironically-
financially,
Ironically, the precedent was originally because you have to have a project to go against the pilot, and there is technically no project. With that said, the council that we heavily rely on, especially Mr. Scott and now his replacement, Chris, we have to be comfortable that they have done all the cross the T's and dotted the I's, that they are leading us in the right way, that how we are going about this is the correct way.
I'm just concerned that somewhere along in the future, somebody else is going to come up with the same thing.
So we have asked, the reason it was brought to the common council and it will eventually have to go to the school board is the prior boards, we had asked that okay, you want us to do this, we're not thrilled about it, so we kind of want to get our little thing, so when people stop us on the streets, we can say, you know, we agree, but on behalf of the city, this is why we're doing this. So why don't you fill us in a little bit what you found, Pete?
So I started with Mr. Jakes to just to learn what the numbers were. So they're currently assessed. The assessed value is 29, and I'll use some round numbers, but 29.8 million. We are currently at a 35.18 equalization rate, which makes their full market value 84.7 million. That's their market value. Typically, when we look at communities surrounding us, a good deal of communities surrounding us are at 100% valuation, so you don't get that equalization rate. Typically, when somebody says what you're assessed at, that is the 100% value. Because we're not, and it's been years since we've had a revaluation, we have to utilize the equalization rate that's set by New York State, and there's a lot that goes into that equation, but we're at 35.18%. So 84.7 million is their full market rate, their value. The last payment from the previous pilot was 500, and these numbers are for the city's taxes, so I'm not talking school or county taxes here. The last payment from the previous pilot was 517,000. 517,000 was their last pilot payment. So based on the current assessment, the payment would be about 536,000 moving forward with that assessment. Okay. Again, let's talk about what their value is, right? 84 million based on our assessment. So reaching around and doing some research on there's 42 other a total of 42 hydro plants in New York State currently that are active. Some from 0.5 megawatts upwards to about almost 50 megawatts of output. And trying to do an apples to apples the best I can in comparison, because when you do evaluation on a property like that, it's not a two-family home on Mohawk Street, right? There's land, there's assets, there's output, right? How many megawatts, right? Net output comparatively to the cost of energy that exists today, and then a pro forma on what energy will be in the coming years. So there's a great deal that's involved there. So what I could do around New York State on others that have these hydro plants, it appears that these numbers are probably, we probably are assessed a little high. Is it best to battle this in litigation? Might not be, based on what we can win or lose. The benefit, right? What's the difference in cost there that I just told you about what their last payment was, which is where they'll start in the pilot, and what it will be based on their assessed value, about $19,000 annually, which will blow off in the phone call that we're going to make to say we want to go to litigation.
The appraisal itself, while we have no firm numbers, we have been told is easily in the six figures. And we wouldn't even be able to take step 2 until that was done.
Yeah.
So obviously for Board of Our Resources, those are scary numbers.
Absolutely.
And we would be the ones championing it.
Yep.
So is it fair to say it is our recommendation to the board that we do move forth with this, or?
That's the data.
We
That's the information you have.
don't like it, but we're in a fight, we can't win it.
It is.
That was my original comment. There's no decision.
Well, there is, yeah.
It's
There is.
stand firm.
But something like this should be
Right.
talked about.
I agree.
So I think that we will then instruct Chris to move forward.
We'll go with, yeah. So I think Chris and Joe, Chris Canada, who's Joe's replacement, and Joe, I think their primary concern was the request we had into the school district and to the city.
Correct.
And was that going to be the wording in our resolution to pass this? So I think that's the outstanding piece, is how do you want to pass it? Do you need that to be a part of it?
That's what the board has wanted in the
Because
past.
I don't remember where we left off with this.
We had basically wanted to say that we were doing this on behalf of
The school board.
the school board and the city.
Right,
And that we as a board ourselves were fairly against it.
right.
So
We ever hear back from the school board?
we have not, and that is certainly an issue here.
Who did we reach
So I
out
turn
to?
to you.
Who did we reach out to? Do you know and when? I'm just
I
curious.
think it's Peggy and corporate counsel, I would
Okay,
guess.
because there's just been so much turnover in the board in the past couple of years.
Oh, no, this would have gone to council.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
it
mean,
was
that's
council
my
to
problem
council.
here. Joe wasn't here, Danny wasn't, when this started, there were a
Right.
couple people that weren't here. So that's the other reason I want it on the record.
Right,
So I do think we have to follow up with the school board. I would assume,
I think it's good practice to do that, right? I mean.
oh, of course. Yeah. I think they get affected more than anyone by it.
Well, look, I think it shouldn't affect your decision based on what you know.
No,
But I think, yes, hey, we're ready to move forward. And here's one last ditch effort to
so the
say,
one clarity I didn't get is why this came out of nowhere. So I'm assuming Brookfield has reached to the city. Is that fair? And
They were crickets for the longest
the
time.
longest time.
Yeah.
Actually, Joe Scott had written them towards the end. They were getting a little testy emails because they just were not responding to anything for months at a time.
yeah,
So, and they did this before. So I still don't know if they have, I do not believe that they have legally filed an application with the IDA and paid the $750 application fee. So that also has to be taken care of too.
hasn't come to me.
No. I remember there was one that was done preliminary with Joe Scott. The problem with the application is there's not much they can fill out because there's no project attached to it. So to look at it, if I was a citizen looking at it, I'd probably be a little upset. It was mostly NA, the whole thing. So I think we want to confer with Chris on that and how that gets handled, but, they have to pay the application fee and.
Yeah.
This 20 years and all the prorated taxes and everything, does that fall in our guidelines of our bylaws?
It doesn't. I don't think, none of this falls under our guidelines because this is unprecedented because there's no pilot attached to it.
But as
Or I'm
far,
sorry, there's no project.
as far as the term,
Well, we're down to 10 and 12 now, I believe, right?
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So should we stick
We would
with
have, well, that's a fair point. We'd have to acknowledge that in the resolution,
We would have to
that
acknowledge it.
this
in the
is a
resolution.
variation from our UTEP.
Or give them a 10 and a 10 renewal.
No, we can't do that. And this has already been negotiated.
Right.
So I'm happy we got the 1% escalator and if that wasn't there originally. We went for 2%, knowing we'd end at 1.
Very good.
So.
Good.
So I think so to clarify, we seem less staunch on the wording of the resolution as maybe in the past.
Correct.
Fair statement.
I think it's a fair statement. Yeah.
So, and I know some of the members, Danny cannot be part of this if you're aware of that. He's had to recuse himself from any conversation because of his employment. So we'll follow up with them then and
Yeah.
tell them to move forth. We'll talk to them about, maybe we can do a call, Chris, and go over what he feels wording should be, what we want it to be, and move forward, and then reach out to the school district. So,
Okay. Any comments, questions?
No?
all right, well, thank you.
That's it.
That's actually our whole agenda today.
That's it.
Well, but because of the other meeting, we had to do
Yes.
this
No, that's
today.
good, yeah.
So, yeah,
Need a motion to adjourn?
Make a
Laura?
motion.
we'll give this one to Joe.
Joe seconded.
Job, Joe.
And this could be our quickest meeting ever.
It could be. Efficient,
Efficient,
yes.
that's what we like.
So we had a, what's the common council meeting on last Tuesday?
Yeah.
First time.